In this study of 810 overweight or obese individuals, everyone was put on a calorie-restricted diet for 6 months. So far, so good, right? Most people lost weight. But what happened next is where the magic kicks in. This group gained all their weight back by year 2. This group regained some, this group did better, and this group, they barely regained anything. So what do you think made the difference between these groups? Was it sticking to their calorie deficit? Was it exercise? Was it macronutrient ratios? Well, if you guess sleep, you win a prize. Well, not actually a prize, but you definitely get a pat on the back. The only difference between these groups was how well they slept. And it wasn't just total weight. The same trend held for the percent of fat in the abdomen and waist circumference, which means more belly fat. Now, we talk a lot about diet and exercise when it comes to weight loss, right? But sleep, it's usually left out of the conversation entirely. And it may be just as important. Dozens of studies have shown this association between poor sleep and weight gain or poor body composition. But here's the thing, association isn't always causation. And in this video, I want to show you that poor sleep can cause weight gain or impaired fat loss. Because in these studies and others, they completely change how we think about fat loss. So let's go back to that study. First, it was part of this massive pounds lost trial. 810 adults, those with greater sleep disturbance, regained much more weight despite being everybody on the same calorie restriction and receiving the same behavioral support for their diets. In fact, the odds of failing to lose at least 5% of their starting weight increased dramatically with worse sleep. And those in the worst category had more than 3 times the risk of failing to lose at least 5% of their starting weight. And what about fat mass specifically? The same story. More sleep disturbances equaled less fat loss and more regaining of their belly fat. So let's move on to another study from 2018. In this 8-week trial, overweight adults were placed on the same calorie-restricted diet, but one group was forced to have their sleep restricted by 1 hour less, 5 nights per week, although they were allowed to sleep 1 hour extra on the weekends to, quote, catch up. Now, both groups lost the same total weight after 8 weeks. However, the type of weight loss was vastly different. The group that had no sleep restriction lost 83% of their mass from fat, while the sleep-restricted group lost only 58% of their mass from fat. So I'll repeat that. Both groups lost the same amount of total weight, but the composition of what they lost was very different. The well-rested group lost more fat. The sleep-restricted group lost more lean mass, including muscle. So even if the scale looks the same, your metabolism might not. And even worse, losing muscle instead of fat can backfire long-term by reducing your metabolic rate. Now, another similar study had participants on a fixed controlled diet at 90% of their resting metabolic rate. And then they were randomized into either 8.5 or 5.5 hours of sleep per night. And just like that last study, the total weight loss was the same, but fat loss was dramatically different. So both groups lost about 3 kilograms total body mass. But the 8.5 hour sleep group lost nearly half of that from fat. But the 5.5 hour sleep group, less than a third of their total weight was from fat. The rest was lean mass, including muscle. So from the outside, the scale may look like a total success. But inside the body, it's a very different story. And again, the food was identical, right? Calories were controlled. The only difference was sleep. So what do these 3 studies tell us? Well, sleep doesn't just affect how much you eat. It changes what your body burns, fat versus muscle, right? It changes your hormones, your cravings, your metabolism, and your long-term outcomes. If you're trying to lose fat or keep it off, you don't just focus on your plate or your workouts. Focus on your pillow too. No matter how well you eat, if you're not sleeping, you're fighting an uphill battle. So if you're watching this video on YouTube at like 1 in the morning, please go to sleep. But please only after you click the like and subscribe buttons. Take care.